Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Balance Podcast. It's your host, Kaylee, and we're having a bit of a switcheroo this week, unfortunately, in terms of topics. If you are on the email list, then you know what today's episode was supposed to be about, but unfortunately, due to some behind the scenes things, it didn't work out that way. But just a general aside and a little bit of a housekeeping item, if you are not on the email list, please do get on it. And it's so easy to be on the email list. So basically what it is, it's for the show. And remember, there's different parts to the show. There is the podcast episodes, but there's also the blogs. So to make it easier on you guys, the listeners, what I do is with my email list, every time there's a new episode or a new blog post, you get a link sent to you directly to your inbox. So you don't have to sit here and just wait to see a tweet promoting the episode. You'll have it in your inbox before I even tweet out the initial thing on Twitter. So that's a bonus. Same thing for blog posts. You get a link before I even promote it on Twitter. Sometimes you'll get a link a day ahead. So you're always getting access to content ahead of time. Also, there's going to be bonus material starting to roll out that will not be found on social media. So it'll be something that you can have exclusively. So just so much on the way, and there's more, but that's just a little bit of right now. If you want to be on the email list, you can DM me. If you don't know my Twitter, it's _balance_pod. Again, _balance_pod. And from there, you can just drop in your email address and you'll be at it. That's all I need. Another kind of a housekeeping item. So I started a spotlight for social justice. So my thing is, I only know what's in the mainstream news, and we'll get to it later, but Trayvon Martin, the tragedy of Trayvon Martin, and Mike Brown, they started a movement. They started, a new level of consciousness in the country. They got people talking. They helped spread stories that we otherwise wouldn't have known about. So my goal with the spotlight is to highlight local stories or non-mainstream stories that we don't know about here in the United States or even abroad of injustices. And I want to give light to them on the show. So if you know of some in your hometown, your state, country, whatever, drop it in there. And there's two ways. There's a link on the Balance Podcast page. You might have to scroll through some tweets, but I'll probably tweet it again along with this episode in a thread chain. And there's also, if you go to my website, which again is kaewhocreates.wixsite. Wixsite is spelled WIXSITE. So yeah, kaewhocreates.wixsite.com/the Balance Podcast. That's all together. And you go to the Balance Podcast tab, because there's also a tab again for the blogs. If you go to the Balance Podcast tab and you scroll down, you'll see the listener letter form where you can submit listener letters. And under that, you'll see a form for the social spotlight. So put it there. But also, there's one more thing I want to add in that, in the sense that it's also to highlight local heroes, people that you know who are doing good in the community to help those, in need, like people who are doing service and they don't get their flowers. Like I want to get people their roses and their flowers while they're still here to smell them. So just help me out with that. Again, just drop it in that same form. And again, you can find it in a tweet and you can find it on the website page. All right, so that kind of wraps up that bit. So jumping in, there's just been so much going on this week, in the last week and a half, really. So I'm going to start with Lena Waithe because I just feel like there's a lot to discuss with her. So my first beef with her is how she didn't protect the black women on set. Essentially, what happened was on the set of The Chi, so Jason Mitchell, he was on there, but he was dismissed after harassment allegations. And so basically Lena Waithe didn't do more to protect black women or respond to them in an appropriate way, to help them. So that was kind of our first thing. Then there's also the casting call for Queen and Slim, which came out. And basically in it, when she was describing the character for Queen, she basically said like, oh, I want that black person that, if we saw them and it was during slave times, they would definitely be a slave. So that was like, what the heck, Lena? And wait, there's more. So then she was basically talking about how she's a special Negro, essentially, and saying that, her, I'm quoting her, my voice is so weird and confuses people sometimes because I study Sorkin, Spike Lee, Spike Jones, and that makes me a little different than a person who only has black influences. So wait, hold up. Because you study white art as well, which I'm sure plenty of other black, producers, filmmakers, all of that, do that makes you special. And then that she's different because she doesn't only have black influences. Black influences can be very strong because the black experience is very varied and unique. So that's a wide array of experience to draw from. And then when she's talking about, African American vernacular English, which is English, it's not broken, it's just its own form, she refers to it, we have a broken English too. That's what I try to people all the time. I write in broken English. I love that broken English. It's a mix of city living, southern living, and slavery. I think that's such a weird way to describe how we talk. I think it's such a weird way to describe our language. I mean, it's just the things are writing themselves, And then I found out maybe today or yesterday that she's going to star in this movie, and she's wearing a really horrendous lace front, like braided wig thing, contraption, I don't know. And it's a movie called Bad Hair. And if you're flashing back to Chris Rock's whole thing of good hair, and if you're flashing back to like this whole idea of good hair versus bad hair, and shaming people with weaves or whatever, all these different things, the whole thing that we're trying to move past and given the whole natural hair movement or whatever, she stars in a film, and basically she can't get anywhere because of the way she wears her hair. So then she adopts this weave, and then somehow the weave has supernatural powers or something, from what I'm understanding. Anyway, Lena Waithe, I can't rock with her like that. It's just too much. That makes me give a strong side eye, like a GIF type of side eye, okay. Anyway, so moving on. Gabrielle Union has been in the news, of course, for her firing from America's Got Talent, and it's all traced to Simon Cowell, how he runs the show. She said that she spoke out against, discrimination and discriminatory jokes and comments made in terms of her hairstyles, in terms of a alleged Jay Leno comment, in terms of him saying a picture of a dog, saying that's something you'd find in a Korean restaurant, things of that nature. So she spoke up, she spoke out about every instance that she saw, and she was fired for that. And now, from what I'm gathering, I know there's a SAG investigation. NBC is allegedly investigating after they finally sat down with her after, mind you, not before there was backlash, but after all the backlash, that's when they sat down with her. Well, that's when they did, of course. And she had a 5-hour meeting. She said she felt it was productive. So there's that. For me, first, about the changing hair, that's too black. Why is anything being too black negative? Why is that a problem? Why is blackness in and of itself a problem? Why must you exist on a spectrum where you're only medium black or light black? And not just in terms of skin shade, but I'm talking in terms of your actions. Why do you have to minimize your blackness? What is wrong with blackness? That's very telling in and of itself. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm glad that black women are very versatile with their hair. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, to me, it keeps things spicy. They're like, oh, what hairstyle is she gonna have next, type of thing, but again, I feel like for me, a lot of racism comes from jealousy. It's things that they wish they had, things they wish they could do. That stems from it. And I mean, as we all know, jealousy breeds hatred. When you have all these crimes, they say, crimes of passion, it's because that jealousy, these emotions, they can take very, intense forms, like hatred, racism, prejudice, all of that. So anyways, I'm gonna hop off of that. But then also moving forward, she's been receiving a lot of support from people like Shonda Rhimes, Eva Longoria, Ariana Grande. She's also received report from Ellen Pompeo, Jane Lynch. She was on Glee in 2.5 Men if you watch that. She's gotten support from Viola Davis, of course, Will Smith, just a lot of people. From what I gathered, Terry Crews only said good job, we'll miss you, bye. And I guess I get it, he's not trying to mess up his check, he's trying to secure his bag. But she made more of a statement when he was going through his sexual assault thing and standing up for him in the midst when he was being ridiculed. But whatever. Julianne Hough, she was also in the show and also got canned, but her first response prior to all the support, again, you always have to look at the before actions before everybody else come out the woodwork supporting, or before, after the backlash. You have to look at that before moment. So before, she was oh, I had a great time, basically, in her statement about her release. But now that all the support has been thrown behind Gabrielle, she's oh, I support her. And what she's doing, they asked her, did she reach out? She said no, but then she tried to clarify, oh, but I didn't talk to her, but I did reach out. We're just so busy. I'm hoping I can catch her. Yeah, okay. So anyway, there's that. And essentially in her statement, she's playing it really safe. She's basically, trying not to blacklist herself and secure bags. And it's like, where is the solidarity? Like, you have Ellen Pompeo. I mean, of course, she has her Grey's Anatomy bag. That's secured for life. She's like the highest paid female actress right now on TV. So she has her bag secured. But she's just flat out calling out NBC. And she's also calling out people who do not really stand in solidarity, who do not really listen to the issues that black women bring up. And I just feel like Julianne Hough, in her comments, she's not really standing with Gabrielle. She's doing, I guess I'll use the term, the politically correct thing right now. That's what she's doing. And I hate that term, but that's just kind of the way I can express it. But also, remember, this is the same girl who did blackface when years ago it was a Halloween costume and she was trying to be Crazy Eyes from Orange is the New Black. So there's all of that hoopla. So that kind of tells you the type of person that she is. So yeah, I stand with Gabrielle. Do I think there's going to be real change? Absolutely not. I think that, if they happen to find or have any evidence or any findings, it'll be something that gets a slap on the wrist, and that we're really committed to changing this. But will they really change it? No. Moving on. So I try not to talk about Summer Walker because she gets dragged so much on social media already. And the only thing I'm going to say about her is that she, in her post, I think it was on her Instagram story or something like that, I saw a screenshot of, she basically said that racism should be categorized as like a mental illness, like bipolar disorder. And for me, I was just like, girl, what are you doing? Especially for a person who also suffers from a mental health illness or disorder in her social anxiety. You should know better than to compare racism, which is evil in the sense that it manifests from just thoughts and beliefs, into structured, powerful things that ruin and ultimately end the lives of some in this country through the mechanisms between police brutality or even an indirect ending of a life through imprisonment. All of these different things, for like low level drug crimes, again, we know like the disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, and just all these other disparities in the sentencing for just having a little bit of weed, and just all of the different things that get people caught up in the prison industrial complex. And for her to compare racism to something that, I feel like it just aids the stigma. Like, people already are made to feel bad for their mental health, and we're trying to move away from any kind of negative connotation. But if you want to associate racism along the same spectrum of something as like bipolar disorder, that is a chemical imbalance, something that cannot help, something that is innocent in nature, it is not something that is groomed and taught. Like, I don't get it. I get in theory, like in a far away abstract theory, like so far that I can't really touch it. I can't really see it. It's kind of like a speck, an atom, something like that. Like, I get where she's going, because it is something wrong with your mind. If you're racist, there is something completely wrong with your mind. But I would categorize it more on the negative spectrum. If you're gonna go towards like narcissistic personality disorder, your example, or something of that nature, don't, just be careful. Words matter, and I don't know how much to stress that. So anyway, Offset, Onset, Upset, he more than likely cheated on Cardi B for the 50th time. And I'm not even going to comment on what she believes or not, but I'm going to comment on Offset. For me, he absolutely DM'd that girl. And that's so disrespectful to not only cheat on your wife, the mother of your children, who's also taking you back several times for cheating already in the past, and, is out here defending you in the streets, and you're out here, messaging someone, I miss you, who happens to have an open court case with, again, your wife and mother of your child. But then to sit here and claim you're hacked, which I don't believe for a second. Allegedly, there's a 12-hour difference between his alleged hacking and when that message was sent. So, and also people said that he was on Instagram Live around the time of that message. So how are you hacked then? But whatever. What really told me that, of course I knew he was a liar, because I mean, this is what dudes gonna do. They gonna make excuses and stuff. But those dramatic like Twitter tweets, and what really got me, like I'm gonna just say, what really got me is him in the back of the video holding the baby with Cardi like defending him. Like that just told me you're guilty. Like you over here, like when you're in a video in the back trying to paint this family image, you grabbing the baby, my dude. When you start grabbing the kid, that's when you know you're guilty, because like you're trying to prey on sympathy and image and all that. Like he did it, but at the end of the day, it's none of my business. If she wants to leave it, that's on her. She wants to take him back, that's on her. My thing in life, I just want people to want more for themselves, and that's it. Just want more, you know. Don't settle. None of that. I was going to speak on Jay-Z this week and his comments about, you know, economic struggle being different now than in Harriet Tubman's day, and him saying that he can't help people if he's poor. I'm not even going to go into it like I was going to. I'll just say this. At one level, I get it. No, it's hard to help people when you're poor. You don't have the financial backing to help them. But there's more ways to help than through capitalistic means. And do not compare your struggle, what you're doing, to anything remotely of Harriet Tubman. That's disrespectful. There's more. You can think it. You can tell me. You can drop it somewhere, and we can definitely discuss it, especially on Twitter. Tweet me. So yeah, moving forward, because there's just so much going on. I don't want to harp on anything for too long. The audacity, the nerve of George freaking Zimmerman to sue Trayvon Martin's family for $100 million. Is it not enough that you got away with slaying, with killing, with murdering their child, their 17-year-old child? And they have to live with you going free and walking around when you've been nothing but in the headlines for domestic violence charges. All these things which show the type of person, the violent individual that you are. And is it not enough that they have to see your face and know that you're free and that their child will never get justice? That there were people who donated to you, that you signed people's bags of Skittles with your name for profit, that you sold the gun that you killed their child with. Is that not enough torment for this man? Clearly not, because here he goes suing them. The audacity, the nerve. And I will quote Jay-Z in one line saying the streets is done, because I don't understand. This man is sick. He is evil. He is twisted. This is disgusting, and I don't understand how he's still roaming these streets. I don't understand how he's not in jail. He is a terrible human being, and I hope they countersue, and I hope this all backfires on him. I hope. And I pray that one day this man lands in jail. Like, I hope that the spiritual universal karma that he has coming to him comes, and that with every action he increases it more by tenfold. This is disgusting. And I was so angry, and I had to talk myself through it with coping strategies and mechanisms, because I was just so angry, and I still am now when I talk about it. I just can't believe that someone like that is in this world. Or rather, that I just can't believe the nerve, the audacity, and that's all I can keep saying. The nerve, the audacity of this man. I'm tired of him, and I'm not even going to keep saying his name. I said it once, and that's all I'm saying, because he doesn't deserve to have his name mentioned. We need to talk about Trayvon Martin's mom. That's who matters. That's who needs their name said. Miss Sabrina Fulton. That's who we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about ways that we can help her in her venture. And so let me tell you about what she has going on. So, calming down. Miss Fulton, she is running for political office in Florida. So in Miami, she is running for commissioner in Miami-Dade County. Please, if you're in Miami, if you're in Florida, if you can vote for her, vote. But for majority of people who are not, please support her campaign. Please spread the word, because we don't want to just keep giving light and energy and breath, to negativity, to the evil that is that man. We need to let that energy, that evil go. Let it sit outside and play and rot and whatever it needs to do, get buried, whatever. Bye. Let's give energy and light to good that she's trying to do. So let's help spread the word of what she's trying to do and help her out as much as we can. So that's one thing I want to do. So anyway, just kind of moving forward and kind of on the same ladder. So we all know Botham Jean was murdered, and his murderer was sentenced, but she got 5 years. So anyway, viral moment was when her brother hugged her. Well, Botham Jean's brother hugged her. I'm so sorry. And recently he received a police award basically for his hug and accepting and embracing the woman who killed his brother. And he happily, gleefully, and smilefully, if that's even a word, accepted the award. And I just have no words. I told you that was weird from the beginning. I promise you I'm not here to tell people how to grieve and how to live their lives. But what I will say is that it doesn't sit right with me in my spirit. And I can't say because I don't know how people were raised, but I really don't think it would sit right in Botham Jean's spirit. I just have no words. I just don't even know what to say. I just don't know what situation would make that okay or called for, unless it was like a true epitome of an accident. If it was something totally unavoidable kind of thing, and if there was real actual remorse shown, if someone actually tried to save him at the scene, and when I say someone, I mean her, like actually put effort into saving, then maybe I can see it. I don't know. It's exhausting. And again, I just hope for his spirit. So more news. So R.Kelly was hit with another indictment. It's a superseding indictment, and it pretty much relates to Aaliyah. So he's being indicted for racketeering for providing a fake ID for Jane Doe in 1994, August 30th to be exact, which was exactly a day before he married Aaliyah, who was 15 years old at the time. So again, like I said, there is a lot of stuff going on right now. Justin Timberlake's out here holding hands with some black woman that's not his wife, and of course he's not helping her out. His statement, he's just saying he's drunk, and so he's leaving another black woman high and dry. Oh my gosh, there's just so much. So something else, Nancy Pelosi said that she is moving full steam ahead with filing articles of impeachment against Donald Trump, so look out for some content related to that on my end. And just kind of wrapping up this news in the moment section, I guess, celebrity news, hot topics, all of that. In Atlanta, there's a huge homeless problem. And we know that, especially if you live in the city, if you've been to the city, if you went to a college in the city. And so, unfortunately, I saw an article where it said 18 homeless people are dead for hypothermia. When y'all are talking about how we're pocket watching people like but him too, but the Amazon CEO, and no, it's not pocket watching, it's just knowing that there's something more that they can do. And it's clear that they don't really care about people when they're cutting corners at their warehouses, like you see in the news, and you're hearing all of these stories, and they're not paying taxes. There's so much that can be done. There's no reason that people are out freezing in the cold with hypothermia. And so just kind of my thing is just like, if you have old coats that you don't want to wear, and donate them. I know there's some city, I don't know if it was Atlanta, it's slipping my mind, but there's a city that's doing take one, leave one. So you leave a coat and it's for someone to take. Find out if something like that is going on in Atlanta, or even your city. If there's a homeless population problem, like help them out, give them thick coats, give them weighted blankets if you can. They're expensive, but they would appreciate it. Just give them, or whatever blankets you have, just help them survive. And I say this, I guess this is the one time that climate change is on their side, because it helps a little bit in terms of temperature. It doesn't get super cold, but still, when it does, it does. And we just need to help and not forget about others in society. And I was guilty of it myself. Like, I signed up for this volunteer opportunity once to feed peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to the homeless in downtown Atlanta, and I was not gonna lie, I was apprehensive about it at first. Like, I didn't look down on them, but like I othered them in a way, and they aren't an other. They are people just like you. I got to sit down and have real conversations with them, and when I tell you, it made their day. So I learned so much. Like, and I to this day, it was years ago, at least 5, and I remember that this one man, he had been homeless almost all of his life, and yet he just had such a strong faith in God. And it was beautiful and it was remarkable. There were homeless people who sang really, really good, and they were singing, and it was just great. They still have the spirit to do that. And these people have stories. They have things that have happened. And even still, it just doesn't matter. Like, these are real people. Take the time to help them. Take the time to speak with them. Get to know them. All of that. That's just something that I can, encourage. So just do what you can. Help what you can. I know it's hard out here for a lot of us. And maybe we don't have the capacity. But, do what you can. That's all I can say. Even if you just buy them a cheap pair of socks. Just something. Every little bit helps. It's not a cliche. It's real life. But to get off the negativity train for the day, here's a moment in Black excellence. So I saw an article on Black Business, I believe it was. So Sean Corbett, he is 40 years old and he's an ex-felon. He opened up his own barbershop, and something that's extra great about it is that he's the first to open a Black-owned barbershop in a Walmart. So shout out to you, Sean, and yeah, that's pretty awesome. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back for the last bit of our show today. Thanks. Hey Balance fam, it's your host, your girl Kaylee. I just want to really, really stress that please subscribe. Please help spread the word. Tell your friends about the show. Help retweet. Mention me when you're listening or just tweeting in general. Just use the hashtag The Balance Podcast. That would mean the world to me and the show. Also, if you haven't already, please take the time during this break to go and leave a review and rate the show. It'll help immensely. And I just want to thank you again for tuning in. Keep tuning in. You mean a lot to me. Thank you, fam. All right, we'll be right back soon.
Where the ladies at? 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 Where the ladies at?
Yo, I gotta shout out all my single Black females who go to school and work a 9-to-5 retail. You're very precious, something special like a pre-sale. We gotta treat you like a queen, shout it, we will. You know that we will take it to the top, and we was known to get it poppin'. I'm providing for the team, so hold it down just like a locket. And the bond is never stopping, ain't gon' lie, man, you the Don't make me get the cussing in this. I be like, go ahead, do your thing, holler when you see me. Shout out to all the CNAs, waitresses, believe me. Attending bartenders and the one who doing hair. All the women that I know can hold it down anywhere. Hey, hold it down.
Hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down.
Hey everyone, we're back. So I know I mentioned earlier about R.Kelly and his new indictment, and that happened right as I was filming, and so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit more, and I'll do that towards the end of the show. But right now I just kind of want to talk about seasonal depression. So basically, as it gets colder outside, as we get more overcast and cloudy days, fall, winter, all of that, people's mental health starts to decline. And it also, when I was just thinking about bringing that topic up, I also thought about how I saw a CNN article back in October that basically talked about how suicide and suicide attempts are on the rise in the Black population, especially among Black teens and especially among Black boys. And for me, it's like, well, what are the causes of that? And there's so many. I mean, if you just sit here and just think, like, not reading a whole full study, just off the top of your head, what are some things you can think of? And for me, race and racism, that comes up because you're seeing all of these stories of police brutality. And, again, it's not something that's new, but it's something that is now more visible because it's not just stories around the neighborhood. It's now something that you can see on social media. It's something that's on the news. So it's circulating more and people are feeling hopeless. And, I think about even, the story of the Central Park 5 coming to light, and they were young, teenagers and young men with their whole life ahead of them and just, totally destroyed and disrupted for a period of time. So things like that, things that they see, because it's, I don't know if it was in one of my sociology classes, but it always talks about how there's, and I'm using air quotes, progress, like, let's say you have, like, of course, like, when slaves and former slaves started getting more rights, then you have these others that pop up to go against the progress. That's when you saw the rise of the KKK. Like, you see all of these things like that. And then, when you see the rise of more rights during the civil rights movement, that's when you started seeing, if you look at the data, you started seeing the rise in imprisonment in black people once they got more rights with the Civil Rights Act. And, when Barack Obama was elected, then you saw, like, the rise of Trump and the rise of the Tea Party that was happening. And then, and like back to right now with Trump and all that madness. It's always like once something good happens, we see something bad happen right after. And so when you're seeing all this, like young boys and men, you don't have that concept. Well, most don't have that concept of evil and all of that at a young age. So it's just really frightening to see all of this going on and seeing that right now your rights aren't cared about. There's kids out here, like, for instance, Border. I saw it was an article, I think, that popped up, was it today or on Twitter. It was 16-year-old Carlos. He died in Border Patrol care. He had the flu. They weren't helping him. They didn't even discover his body until the cellmate alerted them. He didn't get proper attention. He wasn't taken to the hospital. They didn't release him so he can go get help. They didn't check on him. None of that. And there's video that shows that. And of course, it goes against the official report because the official report isn't going to be the truth. Just like they say, like, history is always written by the winners or whatever. It can always be written how you want it to be. So there's that. I mean, like, so again, you see all these heartbreaking stories about how people aren't being taken care of like they're supposed to, and all the heartbreak and horror that's occurring everywhere. And that's just disheartening. That's something that, it's scary. And I think that's a part of it. And then you also have, which I often talk about, the idea that, black men and black boys aren't allowed to be vulnerable. Patriarchy, don't cry, don't have this emotion. These ideas of masculinity, they're toxic and they're killing people. And I'm not going to sit here and just target men, because there are women out there who internalize that, and they want, like, like quote unquote manly men. Like, what is that? And it subscribes to a lot of sometimes the dangerous things that help, perpetuate these things. So sometimes we internalize it, we promote it, we keep it going. So, I mean, just in general, it's like, it's so many things that's a combination that are hurting our young men. And then just talking more about, like, the crazy things that are going on that just represent how we don't care about people, especially the disenfranchised and those who are struggling. Trump just basically put into effect an attack on those who get SNAP, government assistance food stamps. So now basically it affects those 18 to 49 who are childless and not disabled, and you have to work at least 20 hours a week for more than 3 months over a 36-month period to qualify for food stamps. And there are some states who can get a waiver for it if there's like super high unemployment. But yeah, so that's going to affect 700,000 people, like almost 1 million people. And you can guarantee there's a certain population that'll suffer more than the other. So again, there's just so much going on that affects the mental state, that affects people. And again, seasonal depression, guys, just take care of yourselves. Like, for me, what I do, and again, I'm not going to pretend like I have my life together, but something to protect my mental health, to get my emotions out, I journal a lot. And people say that all the time, but journaling is so important. It's like you could think it in your head all day, but when you get it on pen and paper, pencil and paper, however bougie you want to be with it, it really helps you a lot. Also, when it is sunny, even if it's cold, just bundle up, go out and get your vitamin D. And standing in the sun helps me feel better. And I might look crazy to the outside world, but I don't care. I'm learning to just care about myself and what I believe and what I think and what I need to do for me. Talking your issues out loud to the open space. You can connect with whatever higher power you believe in. You can connect with your ancestors, lost loved ones, all of that, and just vent to them. And it'll make you feel better too. Do that once a day. There's just so many different things. And so I just encourage everyone to look after themselves in this time period. And just take care of yourself just in general. And then another thing, and I mentioned earlier that I wanted to start this social justice spotlight. And so I actually got someone to already drop in a bit about social justice. And so in Congo, and I do like to kind of incorporate international news. And like I said, it'll be here and abroad. But so basically in the Congo right now, there is a genocide going on. And apparently this has been happening for years. So Congolese people, and this is according to my source, are from Africa, that they are being killed and forced into labor to collect minerals like cobalt, coltan, and uranium for shipment to North America and Europe. And so the media obviously, of course, isn't covering it, and they said this has been going on for years now. And so that's the whole point with this whole social justice spotlight. I want to mention things that we don't know about that's going on, so we can spread the word, so that we can help, so that something can be done, so that knowledge can happen, so that advocacy can happen. So that's what's going on, and I just want to thank you for dropping that in there and letting us know about it. And I hope that, you know, listeners can take that and just do their own little advocacy with it. And so, just kind of rounding out the episode and wrapping it up, I just want to talk about R.Kelly's situation for a bit. Now, he married Aaliyah, and I believe it was 1994, and it is 2019. I was born in 1993. I am now 26 years old. So it is taking 25 years for Aaliyah Houghton to get justice. And for me, it is sad that she was not protected and justified in life, but I'm glad that she is now getting her justice in death. R.Kelly is a sick and twisted and demented individual, and I'm glad that he's finally paying. Karma is coming. It might have been delayed, but it's right here, it's right now, and it is happening. His legacy, his name, it is all destroyed, and rightfully so. He is currently in jail and not being freed right now, and he's facing so many charges, federal charges, which are huge, major. That's major stuff, and again, rightfully so. He destroyed the lives of so many young women, and you saw it from the documentary that aired on Lifetime. You saw it, even if you look at pictures of Aaliyah's eyes, there's a certain shift, there's a certain darkness, there's a certain pain behind it all. And I'm going to say this as a woman who, I was younger, and there was no way, shape, or form was I messing with older men that were R. Kelly's age, but I did mess with older men who I shouldn't like dealt with. But I thought, again, like many people think that, oh, it's like something to be proud of, you should maturity, things like that. But no, they mess with you, they manipulate you, and it does have an effect on you and your life, and you sometimes do things you wouldn't normally do or be comfortable with. So predators deserve to be punished. And you know, I think I've spoken on grooming and things like that. Again, predators, people who are seeking people out and they're nurturing them to be what they want them to be, and then they wait until they're of age to publicly take advantage of that. They are predators. They need to be punished. There's just so much I want to say, but I don't want to make this episode too long for you guys. But in the end, I am glad to see justice for Aaliyah, justice for all these girls who are now women. I am glad to see R. Kelly finally pay. I am glad to see people pay. And for those, again, I just want to say this really quick. For those who got something to say, like those people in the back, I'm pointing at you because you know who you are, or you know someone who is like that. You see it on Twitter, who want to defend Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. Yeah, white people, white men who do the same thing. Any other race, demographic of men or whoever, women too, because they do things as well, who are predators, who rape, who assault, who do all of these terrible things, they deserve it too, all across the board. But we're not gonna let, you know, just because they're black, we're not gonna let them slide. We're not gonna say, well, since white people, you know, they're getting away with it, no, boo. That's not what we're doing here. Everybody needs to get justice, and I don't care what race you are, you're gonna get it, and you need to be punished. Just because Billy Bob over there isn't getting it right now, that doesn't mean anything. We still need to hold people we can accountable. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So anyways, this is wrapping up the show. I just want to, as always, encourage you to retweet, promote. Always use the hashtag The Balance Podcast whenever talking about the show. Tweet me. Again, just retweet any kind of promo I do. Just help spread the word. When you love an episode, send it to your friend. Like, again, it's available on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, so many different areas and platforms, Anchor, SoundCloud, all of those. Just send your friend a link to the show or to episode itself, that when you're in love with it, you're like, oh, this is a good one, send it. Like, help spread the word, help me keep doing what I do. And yeah, just keep tuning in. I love you guys so much. Let's grow, glow, and know together. Bye.